So this year, with our unique circumstances, all pre-kindergartners and kindergarten students were issued an iPad. And for some of the students, it's their first exposure to it. And so for some of the parents and caregivers, it's also the first exposure. So we thought we'd kind of just do a quick overview and answer questions that arise at this point in time. So welcome. So the agenda is to kind of look at what navigational skills are needed, how apps are available, to talk about our G Suite apps, how students access their apps through Clever, and Lexia for our kindergarten, and use and care, and then some accessibility as well. So getting started, on the iPad, there's different controls and different features that are necessary to run the iPad. And so you have the on and off, which is also your sleep and wake button, your volume button, home button, cameras, and a headphone jack. You use the home button to close out apps and return to the home screen. You can double click to switch between apps and to close out apps. I know my children at home use it mostly to close out apps, but it is a fast tool to switch between apps as well. You can triple click to turn on and off accessibility features. And you can use the home button to return to your home screen and then swipe down from the top to search for an app quickly as well. So the sleep wake button is also referred to the on and off, and you can power off the iPad by holding this down for several seconds. The volume button on the side, you can adjust the volume, mute, or eliminate the sound. To reboot the iPad, you need to hold down both the sleep and wake button and the home button simultaneously. And different than a screenshot, you hold it down for a prolonged time to reboot it. So there's your sleep wake button and your home button for rebooting. Students, when they log on to their iPad, they sign in through Clever, and this is how they access the apps they need for most of the school day. So you'll recognize the Clever icon as well. And then from Clever, the first step typically is to go into Google Classroom, where you find the communication from the teacher, the classwork from the teacher, and any other important information is also there. Mainly the Google Meet link, if the teacher does not email it to you. So the Google Meet link can be found on the iPad with that little video camera above, or sometimes the teachers drop it in stream. I am aware that some teachers also email the parents the link each night. Your iPad has a control center, and when you swipe down from the top right corner, it's usually a 2-finger swipe down. Here you find your airplane mode, your lock screen, color brightness, your Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, a quick notes, and a timer. This is customizable, but for the purposes of your schooling, this is probably what you need for right now. This is where you can make sure you're on the correct Wi-Fi for connectivity issues, and connect any Bluetooth headsets or microphones or things like that. For navigation and organization, students need the following motor skills. They need to be able to swipe, tap, pinch, and drag. And teachers or caregivers should create folders and delete apps. And you can create folders by tapping on the app and then dragging the app over another app so that it creates the folder, and then you can rename it. If you delete an app, you tap and hold until a little X appears, and then you can delete apps. We do have something called self-service, so any apps that are accidentally deleted can be reinstalled. So the gestures, the fine motor skills that we talked about, are called multi-touch gestures, and many of the Google Suite apps that you have at home require maybe a combination of any of these. So a tap, a drag, a swipe left or right, double tap, pinch, those are all things that might have to be used within those Google Slides activities that a teacher sends home or pushes out through Google Classroom. A screenshot is just a way for you to take a picture of a student's work that you're maybe not able to send through Google Classroom through your Google Drive. So what you do is you hold down the sleep and wake button, the home button and the sleep and wake button simultaneously and quickly release it, and that will take the screenshot. All students now have capabilities to do that. And so when you do that, you can attach the screenshot of the student's work to the Google Classroom and submit it to the teacher that way. Or just email it if that's what your teacher expects. Self-service is where you can find all of the apps that are owned by Weymouth Public Schools and available for download and use. The self-service is, again, that library. And on the bottom, there's a bar where you can search for the app and then click the gray shaded install button below each. So you can choose, for example, if you think your student needs some extra phonics practice, there's some apps in there that provide that. I think there's a few that provide some handwriting practice, a letter formation, that kind of thing. You're welcome to download those as well, just as long as they're not distracting from the work during the day. So Google Classroom is a platform that helps teachers communicate, distribute, and collect assignments. You've seen that now, I'm sure, through all of your work. This happens to be Mrs. Cosgrove's screenshot of her Google Classroom. And you can see on the bottom, it says Stream, Classwork, and People. So the stream is where what you use is to communicate with the students. The classwork is where you find the assignments, and people are the students that are enrolled in the class, and that's obviously unique, and two of the students and parents do not have access to this, but at the kindergarten level, I'm sure you're helping with this daily. So, so that gives you kind of the overview of what a Google Classroom would look like. When you open a assignment, at this level, it's a lot of slides in Google Jamboard. But for the Google Slides app, there's, when you open the assignment through Google Classroom, it goes right to the browser for the Google Slide assignment. So if you tap that, click the square with the arrow on the top right, that will take it to the app, the Google Slide app that's on the iPad, and that will make it much easier to use those multi-touch gestures to complete the assignments. Google Meet is the video conferencing app that you use daily to connect with your teacher. There are, like we said, 3 ways that teachers seem to be sending out the link. One is the video camera on the top right. The other is perhaps a nickname that the teacher created. Or the other was they post it in Stream or perhaps send that email. When you are on the Meet, you'll have this screen to start joining. It will have the video controls and the audio controls. And then you need to sync it to the account if it's not already synced. And then on the iPad, you have a little bit different layout. So you can see that it shows the one person that's speaking as the main screen, and then it shows the attendees on the bottom. Below the attendees are the controls for the audio and video, and then the 3 dots are for take you to the next screen that will help you do the chat or share your screen. And their names are a little different. So the chat is called in-call messages, and the share screen is what we call present screen is actually called share screen on the iPad version. So it's a little different than the Chromebook for those who have both at home. So Clever is that single sign-on for access to content and curriculum. And the Clever account looks something like this. This happens to be my 7th graders, so kindergartners may look a little different. And so it has the big ideas, which is the math. I'm not sure what age that big idea starts at, probably kindergarten, not so much preschool. It has the Google Apps to access and any other district resources. So this is where you start your day in the Google Classroom and then follow the teacher's direction to access others. On the forms that the iPad form that was sent with the invitation, there was a question about a student with 2 Google Classrooms on there. And it's just a duplicate, and it's something that we can help the teacher clean up, but that will prevent any confusion. Pear Deck is a new product that we have. It's a presentation tool that allows teachers of all grades and subjects to add interactive elements. And we have a fun Pear Deck tonight. So Mary Lou is going to present her screen now for the Pear Deck.
Sorry, do you want to put the link in the chat to maybe show the whole process, or do you want me to just open up the one that we already have?
I can put the link so everyone can join the Pear Deck.
Yeah, why don't we try that? It's a little bit of a risk when we're live, but why don't we try that, because I just want to show like the process that would be done from like the link on. So we're super excited because Pear Deck is a product that we just purchased for the entire district, and classrooms are starting to use it. And it basically, from the teacher's side, it takes a regular Google slideshow and adds interactive activities. On the student side, your teacher will send a link, perhaps in the meeting or through an email or on Google Classroom, but there will be a link that students just, click on, and then they, follow the directions. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen on the iPad that I'm using.
So there's a link for all of you to join on the side. I just posted in there. So if you have a device handy, obviously you do, feel free to click on that link and play along.
We're assuming, oh, good. Okay. So this is what happens when you share your screen. But basically, oops, I didn't mean to do that actually. So I'm going to go to what we call the in-call messages, which is the chat when you are on an iPad. And from here, I can click on the link. And I can open it either in Chrome or Safari, but I would choose Chrome. And it's, okay, so it already recognized me, but the first time that your student logs in, they might need a little bit of help. I've already logged in once, so it went right to my account, but they might need help using their Google login. So the 32 first initial, middle initial, last name, and then at weymouthps.org, and then their password. And then after that first time, it will either remember them or it might call up just a Google kind of sign-in page where they would see their name and they could just click on it. So the first time, I think that, when you're using this product at home, there does need to be some grown-up assistance. You might see a slide like this. Oftentimes, this is how teachers will start their Pear Deck, just with a quick little check-in, just so they'll know, immediately if any students are sad or less than perfectly happy. It's just a way for the student to communicate to the teacher that maybe there's something that needs to be addressed. But I'm pretty happy because I love this program and I'm happy for you all tonight. So I'm going to say that I am happy. And this is basically a kind of a little bit of a slideshow. You can see down at the bottom, it says that there's 5 slides. And I kind of scroll through by clicking the arrow. And at the kindergarten and pre-kindergarten level, you are most often going to see slides that look like this, which is called a drawing slide. And students can either choose a pencil, a highlighter, a line, or a text box. And then if they make any mistakes, there's an eraser. But I think most often the students will be using a pencil. And above the pencil, they have the ability to make the size larger or smaller, and they can change the color and draw with any colors that they want. So in this case, they might say, oh, that's actually kind of, I don't like that. That's really too big. Let me make it a little bit smaller. and they can practice, not invisible, they can practice writing. Oops, I gotta pick the pencil, sorry, not the eraser. They can practice writing their letters like this. The other thing that they can do is use the pencil to circle items. So they might be asked to do something like this. And they can also kind of, you know, do whatever they want. If there was something that they were counting. And then the last thing you might see is actually two things on this slide to pay attention to. They might have something that they're dragging. So there might be a little bit of a drag and drop. And you'll notice if your student has been doing anything in Google Slides that's been kind of drag and drop, there's a lot of challenges because sometimes the students, you know, rearrange the size of the boxes, or they just have trouble opening it up. This should make that, you know, so much easier for them, where there's not, you know, the program just runs, there's nothing else they can do. And then the last thing here is there's a little, you can see there's a little audio included message up at the top. And this is where the teacher has left audio instructions. So if you ever, you know, and the students will hopefully learn to kind of know to do this, but if they ever, you know, see the audio included, down at the bottom right-hand corner, there's the little headphones. And if they click on the headphones, they can listen to their teacher explain something about the directions, or actually maybe even read the page to them. And so what's nice about this product is once the student is, you know, up and running and has started it, they should be able to go through the whole presentation, you know, by themselves. And if there are any questions, it should be like, okay, look and see if you see the headphones and click on the headphones, because your teacher will be, you know, talking and explaining it that way. All right, so that is Pear Deck. I can stop sharing, or?
Yep, so if we stop, Mary Lou, then we can go back to the...
Yeah, unless there were some specific questions about this. We can always go back to it later if anyone wants, but I'm gonna stop for now.
Okay, and Katie, I'm just reading your question about the multiple Google Classroom. So I'd love to see an example of that so we can kind of figure out why that's happening. So we can...
I think that happens if so the district has pushed out the Google Classroom homepage link on Clever, but maybe the teacher also added it. And so sometimes that's why there's a second one. It really shouldn't matter. They both will take you to the Google Classroom homepage. So
sorry, Mary Lou, to interrupt you, but the problem is that sometimes on one something works and it doesn't work on the other. So like yesterday when she went to sign into her Google Meet, she couldn't get in on one of them. And so then we had to go through all this stuff to get her in. And I had told her to use that one because that was the one that was working, but now it wasn't working anymore. So then she had to go back to the other one. And sometimes, excuse me, when one of the teachers shares a link for something, sometimes it works in one, but not the other. So she's going back and forth between the two different icons to get her work.
Okay, well, that is a new problem. So we'll have to follow up. We'll have to follow up with that one. I'm going to make myself a little note to look into that.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, I'm a teacher, so I use...
All right, so Pear Deck is a new tool for all of us. And as you can see, it will really support student engagement and time on task. So we're very excited about it. So when your students start kindergarten, they have something called Lexia. So Weymouth has Lexia for grades K through 2. And it is a systematic literacy instruction, and it's really personalized. So it's very important that it is, students may need a little help logging in at the kindergarten age, but it's really important that it is students' own work, because what happens is it progresses them through their levels. And when they're in school and doing it independently, then if they're not on the correct level, then a lot of frustration occurs. So it's very important that the students have their own work. And Lexia actually, if they have trouble with an area, Lexia has a fabulous data collection. And so it collects the data, what they need help with, and then there's actually supplemental lessons for the teachers to use, but Lexia also generates appropriate lessons for them to learn the skill. So it is all areas of literacy, and it's research-based, it's systematic, it's targeted, it's just a wonderful program. So I don't believe it's in Clever, but it is an app on the iPads for the kindergarten students. The next part is Karen Youth.
Beth, it's Liana. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Do you mind if I just jump in on the Lexia? It actually has to be accessed only through Clever. If you go to the app, it won't allow you to access it directly through the app. You have to access it through Clever.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad you did. Okay, so yeah, like Leanna said, Ms. Labriola said, only through Clever. I apologize that I had that wrong information. So the next part is care and use, and it's very important. These are most are on the iPads are on the newer side. Students can wash their hands before, encourage them to wash their hands before, that we keep all food and drink away from the iPads. That the students carry them carefully, and please keep them charged each night so they're ready to go for school the next day. We do have an acceptable use policy that has some suggestions for pre-K to 8 students. And it is on the Weymouth EdTech website, so please check that out. It's just suggested guidance for guidelines for acceptable use policies with technology, and really ways to support the digital citizenship. So when teachers request an app, there is an app vetting process that we use. The apps must relate to the students, to the standards, the Common Core standards, goals, and objectives. We look at the compatibility with our network and infrastructure and hardware. We look at the licensing, a login method, and the data privacy. Common Sense Media is a fabulous website for parents for privacy and recommendations for technology. And we also look at what the vendor can offer as far as consultation, product features, and pricing, and that type of thing. So your iPads, the students' iPads have accessibility features, and that can be found in the general settings, which is the icon you see on the screen. The one that you should know the most is guided access. So if your child is having trouble staying within an app and not getting distracted by the other apps on the device, you're welcome to use guided access. So when you turn on guided access, you'll be asked to enroll a passcode. It is our suggestion that you email that passcode to the teacher so that if something happens and you cannot remember it, at least it will have record of that. To turn on the guided access, you set the passcode, and then you triple click the home button 3 times to start, enter the passcode, and then when you're ready to come out of that app and go on to something different, you triple click again and you can end the session. So guided access is a fabulous tool to keep your children focused and ready for the school day. So if you want to take a minute to maybe search for an image of your favorite animal, take a screenshot, maybe search for an app in self-service, maybe try and create a Google slide about the animal. or try and enable the guided access. We'll give you a few minutes to play around, and then we'll come back and answer some questions. Thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to email us if you have any. And yes, this was such a, this is my first year joining this tech integration team, so it's been amazing, but amazing compared to other districts that we have this technology available and ready to go. So as a parent in the town, I am grateful too, Tara. Thank you. Yeah. Yep.